Before we dive into today's episode, a quick shout out to the sponsor, Lips and Lines Aesthetics. If you're looking for expert, subtle, confidence boosting tweaks that leave you feeling fresh, empowered, and still completely you, they've got you. Run by a team who truly understand the art and science of aesthetics, Lips and Lines are all about enhancing natural beauty, not changing it. And honestly, we love that. Full disclosure, my face is today's sponsorship. Lucy recently dissolved my chin and I've never felt more confident. I was this close to booking surgery for my eyelids, but her artistry has literally saved me thousands of pounds. Massive thank you to Lips and Lines for sponsoring this episode. Now, let's go spill the tea. Welcome to Spilling the Tea with Layla Safaee, and I'm so excited for today's episode because it's with Layla Tourh, who genuinely blew me away on a whole new level recently. I had the pleasure of spending time with Layla on a working trip to Marbella, and what I saw wasn't just the incredible entrepreneur we all know, but a deeply grounded woman with powerful family values, a huge heart, and a magnetic presence. But don't get it twisted. She rules her world with serious boss energy. Layla is the real deal. She built her first beauty business from the ground up, scaled it internationally, launched her own product lines, opened training academies across the UK, and became a multi-millionaire all on her own terms. In today's episode, we're talking leadership, scaling, identity, motherhood, legacy, and how she does it all without compromising who she is. Now let's go spill the tea with Layla Tourh. Welcome, Layla Tourh.
Thank you for having me.
My little pocket rocket. Oh, right. I'm so grateful for you being here today, honestly.
Well, second time lucky, hey?
Yeah, let's go into that actually. So, as you know, we start this podcast with letting the listeners and viewers know exactly how we met. It's an interesting story.
It is.
And developed actually, because had we have stuck to the original podcast in Marbella, it's developed so much from there. So.
Yeah.
My perspective of how we met, I'm just going to go straight in. So I knew who you were from a young girl because my dad is really good friends, best friends with one of your brothers. So I knew who you were because I remember my dad when I was in the car with him saying, "Oh, that's Waleed's sister's shop." So in my mind, you always had this shop, right? And then obviously we connected. Intercept me at any point, Layla. I know you will actually. I don't know why I'm saying that. So obviously we connected on Instagram and obviously I admired what you were doing and your content. And then was it the Dorset Living? So I was on the front cover of Dorset Living for International Women's Day month in March. And you were also featured in it.
So I was in a feature called Leading Ladies, and you very kindly tagged me in a Instagram story. And I thought, oh, that's really nice of her. Like, you know, just congratulating me. And I was like, okay, this is another Layla. So then we just started talking.
So you didn't know who I was?
No, absolutely not.
No, I love that.
I just thought you're another lady in that magazine because obviously it was International Women's Day. It was the whole month. So there was so many amazing women in that magazine.
Yeah, there really was actually. It was a great feature.
It was a great addition. And then you tagged me in your story and I was like, oh, amazing. That's so nice of her. And then from that point, I followed you. We're following one another. My daughter, however, is just about to sign up at the college to do a course in digital media. So then I reached out to you. Do you remember this? I reached out to you and I said, it's for Coco. So I reached out and I said, my daughter Coco, she's 17, she's starting college as an apprentice. Do you want an apprentice, you know? And then you said, yeah, maybe. Let's talk about it over lunch or dinner. So then we went and booked Calatai.
Obviously.
Number
one Thai in Bournemouth. Just saying.
Just representing Thai for a minute, Calatai for a minute.
This isn't the sponsor, Dad. It's genuine love.
And I just suggested there because it's my brother's restaurant and because it's bloody good. And then when we're sat there talking away and then my sister-in-law comes across and then gives you a big hug and then you two start talking, I'm like, hang on a minute. Yeah. Do you two know each other?
At that point, I thought you knew who I was.
No.
Just because this is like a Middle Eastern flex for anyone that doesn't get it. Like, friends become family, I know the cousin, but we've not met, so they're like family. So in my mind, I sort of knew who you were. You didn't know me, but then it makes sense because as we start going through your story, it would make sense why you wouldn't know because you're such a busy boss woman. So.
But that was when I was like, hang on a minute, what is happening here? And you were like, my dad is best friends with your brother. Did you not know that? And I was like, no. So that was how our conversation, happened at Calatai. And then I was already going to Marbella. I go often. I used to live there. I know we'll come on to all of that. And then I think from the messages after our dinner at Calatai, we turned it into a work trip. And it was an amazing 6 days together.
We've missed a crucial point here.
Go for it.
Because while we were sat at this table eating amazing food, I'm listening to your story, you're listening to a bit of like the journey of where I was at that point. Sorry, my tummy's rumbling. I hope you can't hear that. And I was so blown away because in my mind, I was still that young girl that remembered your shop in like Southbourne.
Yeah.
So to then hear where you had gone from there to where you are now, I was like, this is really impressive. I was really, really inspired. And I think I said to you, would you come on my podcast?
You did.
Because I feel like other women, other men, like anyone that wants to scale their business, like they should hear this inspiring story. And that's how I felt when I left the table and you agreed. And I was like, yes.
Oh, it's lovely. I mean, I haven't done anything that no one else can do. Like everyone can do this. It's a choice as to whether you go out there and get it. It's all there for the taking. But 100%. I know we'll come on to that.
No. So in a nutshell, guys, this is obviously how me and Layla met. We were strangers, essentially. And then, you know, when you're like high from meeting someone new and like you're bouncing off each other with that energy. And then I think I was like, jokingly, as your Miss Marbella, why don't we go do the podcast in Marbella? Yeah. That's how it started, wasn't it?
Love it.
Yeah. And you were like, yeah. And I was like, oh, she's married and has children and she's willing to jump on a plane to go on do a podcast. Yeah. And I was like, this is my kind of woman. And of course, she's Layla. And that's what happened.
Yeah. And it was a great 6 days together.
Yeah, let's talk about that actually, because it was an incredible trip.
Well, considering that we were strangers.
That's exactly what we were.
Yeah.
Strangers, both with the same name.
Yeah.
And your daughter Coco did end up, she was going out anyway, wasn't she?
She was already booked. She was already there with her friends because we lived there. We have a life there, you know. So she was doing her thing. But one of the nights, well, she had done 3 late nights on the trot. And my motherly instinct kicked in. I was like, no, you're coming home with me. And that's obviously when she stayed the night and you met Coco. And yeah, it was lovely.
It was lovely.
Yeah.
For me, obviously you know this because we had some really deep chats. So for perspective, we as strangers booked an apartment in Nueva Andalusia, deliberately outside of Puerto Banús, just so we could actually work. This was a working trip and 2 like-minded women, quite exciting. But then the autistic tendencies of me was like, this is well out of my comfort zone. But obviously I've done a lot of like personal growth and so on. So I was like, I love this. This is like, I love that. We don't know each other, but we're like-minded. We clearly have chemistry as women. I don't know how this is going to unfold. It could be a shit show. It wasn't.
Well, you could go into this trip and by day 1 hate that person and be like, oh, she is grinding on me or what. But we had none of those things.
We really learn how to dance together, I think. Because we're very different women, but we have the same morals and values and we're both very hungry. But do you feel that too? Like we were just dancing. It's quite intense. It's like being in the Big Brother house in Marbella. Like 2 strangers. Not
I mean, we weren't sharing rooms or anything, but,
no,
you know.
That would be weird.
That would be weird.
No, we wouldn't do that.
But, you know, from first thing in the morning to the first coffees to late thing at night, you know, I had my daily ritual of going off and listening to Drake and doing my 50 my 50 squats in front of the mirror, you know. And
oh, you honestly melt my heart. I'm thinking about it now, and you'd be making your little matcha,
making my morning matches, making you one every morning.
Honestly, it was the most beautiful thing, guys. I'd be up early, but then I'd be pottering around, showering or whatever, and I'd come out and Layla would have made, sorry, I'm talking to you and everyone, but there was like a little coffee cup on the side waiting for me.
Already? Just to pour?
I just loved it. I was like, oh, you're such a wifey. I just loved it so much.
And I love that actually, because I wasn't always that person. And I know we had these conversations, late night conversations, whilst we were there. I called it my soft girl era. I know you told me off about that.
I did many times.
Yeah. But yeah, I just loved floating around the place. Reminded me of when I lived there, when I was in my own home there. So to have someone to kind of make dinner for and make coffee for, like, I loved that.
I pulled my weight. I did
Oh,
the
you
barbecue.
did?
You did the sexy salads. I did the
You did pull your
chicken on the
weight. You
barbie.
did, yeah.
I never used a barbecue in my life. God, I didn't kill you. That would have been tragic. Oh, it was lovely, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
So this working trip, both of us were doing our own things. We did have our own meetings going on. It was not a holiday.
No.
No. We were both working. But then we jump out and we do something together for a couple of hours in the day, the market, or...
Oh, yeah.
It was lovely. And then back to it. But we just gave each other the space, but then came together. And it was quite nice, like listening to you, doing your phone calls. And I don't know how it was from your side, but I just thought it was just really nice because we're doing totally different. We've got totally different flexes. But yeah, it was really good.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
You coming back?
100%. Well, yeah, I love Marbella.
Yeah.
And
it's too easy for us. Bournemouth, Malaga. It's too easy.
Yeah, it's convenient,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
I think you've inspired me definitely to try and make it work because it is so convenient. And if you can build your business right, and that's what I'm definitely doing at the moment, and spending that time with you made me realise anything is possible. And
My clients call that the Layla effect. I'll just throw that in there.
Layla and Laila, the duo you didn't know you needed.
That's it.
That's your one.
You liked that one, didn't you?
I will hold on to it. We just need matching pink Porsches now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, it was really special, and I'm really grateful. I feel like we got really deep as well in the evenings.
We did.
When we were like actually switching off from work. And this podcast isn't about me, but one thing I do want to say to you is, whilst we were having those deep conversations as strangers, but like building a friendship, you made me realise that it is possible to be an incredible mum, an incredible wife, and rule the world.
Yeah.
That is what I did. Well, you know this. I didn't believe that was possible.
I remember that chat. Yeah. I think we even got a bit tearful at one point.
I know.
Because work isn't everything. And actually, I think you only know that when you truly get through to the other side. But I'm not here to bash anyone that is in the trenches, because I've been in the trenches.
Yeah.
And it's hard.
Let's get to you. Marbella trip was epic. We had an amazing time, and I feel like we've got the most special friendship now. So,
yeah.
And thank you for being here. So let's go back to the beginning of Layla Tourh. So tell me about your upbringing. What was young Layla like?
Upbringing, if I had to say 2 words: amazing, the best upbringing ever, couldn't fault it, but also hard at times. And that comes from being a girl with a religious father in a Western country. My dad is from Syria and came to England, which I'm sure a lot of them do, with the idea that what works in their culture and environment and country is just going to work here. Maybe it worked for his first child, being a boy, being a son. But then Layla, baby number 2, comes along, a girl. Feisty little thing she was. And that's when the hard times started to show. And look, I'll be really honest with you. When you've got a really headstrong father, which I definitely feel feeds into the person I am and the decisions I made very, very early on in business. But as a girl, you don't get it. Why can't I go out there and do what my friends are doing? Why can't I have a boyfriend? Why can't I wear makeup? Why can't I wear perfume? You know, these were the real things that I was not understanding.
No.
And, so strict upbringing. but then definitely gave me that bulletproof mindset and that resilience to go out there and be like, actually, I'm not going to be a housewife. I'm not going to be provided for, which is what a lot of men like my dad, when they have their daughters, they think that is the path, for their daughter's life.
Out of interest, so I'm mixed race as well, obviously, so I can relate to a lot of what you're saying, even though we're in that time was a slightly different generation. But with you taking on, I'm going to call it a masculine energy, right? Because it is.
It is.
It is. So with you being a female in that Arabic family environment, how did your dad and brothers take that?
Not well to start with.
Really?
Yeah, not well to start with. So
get back in your box sort of thing.
Yeah, well, just to give you a teeny snippet, because I feel like this story could be a different podcast episode on its own.
Yeah.
When I was 18, and 18, so I'm nearly an adult now, I'm a young adult, and I've got this headstrong, mindset because it's come through my DNA with my dad and my mum. I'm going to give my mum grace here as well, another strong woman, but in a different way. To cut a long story short, my dad put me on a plane to Syria. And at that time, I thought it was a family holiday. And I love my family over in Syria, very family orientated. And I adore my family members there. But little did I know that there was no way of me getting back.
Oh, God.
So he tricked me.
Oh, Dad.
For 4.5 months, I was in Syria.
Whoa.
Yeah. My mum would speak to the British embassy and no go.
So that wasn't Mum's decision?
Absolutely not. He tricked my mum.
We could laugh about it now.
I know. And listen, I'm my dad's biggest fan. I'm one of 11.
I find that incredible.
One of 11, same mum and dad, 8 brothers, 2 sisters. I rank number 2.
Love that. I rank number 2.
I rank number 2. And no, got all the love in the world for my dad because I understand what he was doing. Now, at the time, I was like, but I just want to see my secret boyfriend. And that's possibly the reason why he put me on that plane.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, so going back to that word hard, it was hard because I just didn't get it. But I was also in the mindset of I can have whatever the hell I want and I'm going to go and get it.
Yeah.
So that's what I did.
So it's definitely been part of that journey.
Mm-hmm.
And that...
Well, proof that you can have it all. As a woman, you can be rich, you can be successful. You don't have to marry into a rich family or you don't have to...
it's helpful, but just saying.
So, yeah, I was there to prove a point, I guess. Yeah.
Do you reckon that's what drove you to set up a business?
Yeah, I'm incredibly independent. And again, it's got to stem from my upbringing and family. Where else? I don't know. Because I was only employed for 4 months for someone else before I opened my first business.
Was that in beauty, Layla?
Yeah, that was my salon. That was Layla's unisex beauty salon at 19.
So you were working, before you set that up, you were employed, but only for 4 months?
4 months, yeah. And I thought, I can do this.
Really? So you were working for a salon?
Yeah.
For 4 months?
Yeah.
And you said, I'm not surprised actually, I don't know why I'm making this statement, I can do this myself.
Yeah. So I handed in my notice and they offered me partnership to stay. And I said no, because I'll be doing the same thing over there on my own with 100% mine.
Okay.
So I left.
Right. So first beauty shop.
First business was a salon. Yeah.
Yeah. And your passion was beauty?
Yeah, well, passion was people, I think. Like, I love to serve. I love people. And that was another kind of issue or resistance with my dad. I wasn't a doctor or a lawyer. You know. I was a beauty therapist. Ooh. Yeah, no, only dumb girls are beauty therapists. So there was all of that as well. And that actually isn't from my father. I think that's from everyone.
Yeah.
There is a stigma out there that if you're in beauty or hair or aesthetics, that it's not a real business. and there's no real money in it.
So interesting, isn't it?
Which is such a load of bollocks.
Yeah.
And I'm walking proof of that. So,
I wonder what your dad thinks now.
oh, well, you know, my dad loves everything that I do.
Must be so proud of you.
He is. And actually, there's a lot of family members in Syria that will reach out to me. And, you know, they're watching what I'm doing and they're telling me what my dad's told them over there. So it completely went full circle.
That is a Middle Eastern flex, for sure. I totally get it. So you've got your first beauty shop. Mm-hmm. You scaled it. You employed people.
Again, 4 months later, so it's like 4 and 4. So I was employed for 4 months by somebody and left to open my first business, which was my salon. Yeah. 4 months into my salon, I employed my first full-time employee.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was very quick to learn that, you know, there's only so many hours in a day and I'm going to hit that financial ceiling. So I'm only ever going to hit X amount of money in so many hours a day. It's a formula, you know, it's a math. So I basically learnt to leverage and I pulled in people. I started employing people and started building teams really early on. So by 19 at this point, I was already employing a small team of women.
Unreal. That's amazing.
And that comes with its own challenges. Egos, ageist women. One of the women I employed is older than me. You know, so you hit a whole different set of skills now had to be pulled out of you.
Yeah. And challenges. Because it's incredibly challenging as a business owner in many ways and at like different stages of the journey as well.
Yeah.
So how long were you in that position before scale came and training academies and...
Yeah. So...
Talk me through that.
Maybe 6 or 7 years in,
okay.
I was like, okay, I love what I do. I love my clients, but I just know there's more. I know there's more financially, but I know there's more on the ladder, like the career ladder. But when you work for yourself, you don't have a boss that puts you on a course and, you know, gives you that ladder of opportunity, promotions. You have to go and promote yourself. You have to go and put yourself in other rooms and other opportunities and basically take action because there's no one pushing you. You have to push yourself. So the story actually goes, one of the brands that I was stocking was going bust. And it was one of the biggest brands in the world. Well, it was the biggest nail brand at the time. And I just got in my little car, went and drove to, God, I can't remember where it was now, it's so long ago, but it wasn't in Bournemouth, to get my stock. And I could see that all their shelves were empty. And it was the son of the owner actually on the till. And he said to me, oh, you know, this company in America has gone into liquidation. So obviously stock is seized and blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, oh my God, that's really bad. Like, what are we going to do? We've all bought into this brand because at that point, personal branding wasn't around. It was all product branding. So I, as a business, had bought into this product. I would then sell that product to my clients. Then here we are with this dilemma of, oh my God, I'm going to have to change brands, change marketing. What am I going to tell my clients? What if I don't find something good enough? You know, all the things. And I left that meeting and I don't know why. The internet wasn't that old at this point. I'm on the internet, do a bit of digging, and I end up finding the company in America, and I just pick up the phone. So I just pick up the phone and I say to them, which is really funny actually when I think about it, because I was so driven by probably ego over experience and wanting to, you know, basically demanding, where are my products? How dare you? Like my tiny little, you know, this is a multi-million-pound company, by the way, that are obviously having issues and had to restructure and whatnot. And there was little Layla in her little salon in the little UK, like, where? How dare you?
How did that call go down?
Well, the conversation ended in a really good way. And this is what I love the most about any woman, man, anyone in business is that, you know, it might feel a bit icky and a bit, you know, I don't want to use the word fear, but like, you don't know what's on the other side of that conversation. But if you don't have the conversations, you'll never know. Mm-hmm. And if I hadn't have picked up that phone, the next chapter would absolutely not have happened. Yeah. So what happens is I get a call back from the right person. because obviously the right person didn't answer the phone to me. They just got an earful. But the right person, for whatever reason, called me back. And then that conversation was different. And they weren't speaking to Layla, the salon owner. They were talking to Layla, the possible next person to import and distribute their products for them under their new company.
You impressed on that first call?
Clearly.
Because if you really rubbed this person up the wrong way, they wouldn't have passed or...
Yeah. So they restructure, reform, come back. And the next thing I know is I am selling their products and I have the contract for the whole southwest of England. Building number two, business and building number two. So my salon is running like a dream. I've got fully booked girls, fully booked columns, happy team, happy clients.
Amazing.
But Layla is wanting to bust out the box and go again.
What's next?
Level up again. So I take the building directly opposite my salon, which is a huge building. And I take that and I open a store, a wholesaler's. So now I become the wholesaler for the world's biggest nail brand. And I have people traveling from anywhere and everywhere to my store to buy their products.
Whoa.
And what happens is when you're selling products, well, people need to know how to use them correctly. And these are professional products. They're not, you don't get them off the shelves at Tesco. They come with training. So that's when I went into the training space. And that will be 20 years ago this year, this September.
Unreal.
Yeah.
Unreal. Did it just evolve from that phone call when the right person called you back and saw what they saw in you and also saw an opportunity for the company to stay in the game ultimately?
Yeah.
And you were the right fit
Yeah.
to make
I
that
guess.
happen? And it just evolved?
It just evolved. I mean, let me tell you. I mean, not like in the days of today with mentoring and coaching where you basically pay someone for the fast track, you know, for the blueprint. I call it the pink print at Beauty Boss. Back in those days, that help wasn't around. So I was learning on the job.
Yeah, it was no social media.
There was no social media. Facebook had just come in, but I was already open and established and, you know, turning a business. And I was making a shit ton of mistakes. Let me tell you, I was making mistakes. It wasn't all win-win-win. There's a lot of fails in there.
You didn't give up.
No, that's the Arab in me. I'm sure of it. I'm sure of it.
I love it. I love it. So it just evolves into becoming a wholesaler. At this point, are you the only point in the whole of the UK?
No. So I'm one of four. So I
Okay.
have the southwest of England, which is a very big
Huge.
area, very big contract and a very big area. And this company then invented the world's first gel polish. So for anyone who is listening and gets their nails done, they'll know what I mean by gel polish. It's when we went from having to get our nails painted and sit there for God knows how long for it to dry, for it just to chip when you're putting your seatbelt on in the car. Like I remember my salon days, like we would literally have clients sat like this and we would go out to the car with them, carry their handbag, put their seatbelt on them, go in their wallet, take their cash out.
Whoa.
Because they were like this, waiting for their nails to dry. And then gel polish came along where there was no dry time, no chips. And that invention just blew my business into the...
Amazing.
Yeah, it was incredible.
It's incredibly inspiring. Incredibly.
And it went crazy. Can I just say that business ran me? Like I did not run that company. It's run me.
Can I ask you, had you met Ben, your husband, at this point?
Yeah.
So at the point of where you're like
Yeah.
taking off,
Yeah.
you'd met Ben?
Yeah, met Ben.
Had you got any of the babies?
I
Were they
think I
born?
had Coco. Yeah, I had Coco. I had my
Oh.
baby number one.
There we go.
Yeah.
So you're scaling, you're facing challenges,
Yeah.
you're not being defeated.
Absolutely
You've
not.
got a husband.
Very supportive husband, which I know we'll come on to.
Yeah. Unreal.
Yeah.
It is possible.
It was hard because, again, lack of everything, lack of experience, lack of money, you know, lack of everything. I had support because I've got my amazing family and my husband, But it was definitely learning on the job. And I don't think anyone knew what was going to happen with the nail industry in particular with this invention. It just went crazy busy. And that's when I started building my team of educators. So then I'm teaching, but I just basically do what we call a rinse and repeat, which is, okay, now I've just gone from being really busy in my salon to now being really busy in my training academy. I want to remove myself from the classroom and replace myself. So I then start building a team of educators and I started teaching people how to teach for me.
At this point, was it just in Bournemouth or were you now
No.
going?
I had 37 educators that I trained to go out there, teach my courses, sell my kits, represent my brands.
Across the UK?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
And I'd bring them together once a year in May in Birmingham. It started in Bournemouth, but we grew so quick. So I would then go middle of the country, middle of the year, so that it was fair for people coming from London, Scotland, Liverpool. It was like a middle ground. And I would teach them for 5 days. It's called the Education Summit. And I would teach them teaching skills, people skills, leadership skills, on the tools and off the tools. And then they would go out there and they would deliver my courses.
So there's no social media. How are you reaching these people?
So Facebook had started by this point.
Yeah.
So Facebook groups were the only strategy out there. We were big on Facebook groups. Yeah.
And what about the data from the people buying from the wholesalers? Obviously, that was limited to the Southwest, but like, was that helpful?
Well, it wasn't actually, because it was limited to the Southwest contractually. But the moment that lid came off, which I believe we will come on to at some point, I'd built such a name out there. And almost personal branded before personal branding was a thing. Like
Yeah.
I was doing things like road shows.
I was just about to ask you about the road shows.
Yeah, we were doing road shows. I was doing all the stage talks at all the beauty exhibitions, and people would come to meet me. This is before personal branding was a thing. I'd be like, why are they coming all the way here to meet me just to get a photo with me? Just to check out my shoes. Like, my shoes became a thing.
Yeah.
You know? So it was like, wow, this is actually incredible. But I have to go back to the trainers, because when you're trying to build something so strong out there, I need to make sure that I had taken on A players and good people. Not everyone's a good person. There's a lot of shit people out there that are just there to piggyback off your back. And again, it comes back to anyone who's in business, who's employed a team, scaled a team, will get this. Not everyone is there to do a good job and to be there for the long run. And that's okay too. I totally respect when people, you know, everyone has the right to grow their own wings. That's what I call it. They grow their own wings, they fly off and they do their own thing. But there's a right way of doing it and there's a not right way of doing it. And I've dealt with both. Yeah.
You've got to be grateful for these experiences.
Oh,
sometimes,
totally.
because it makes you who you are, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Well, they just give you those life lessons. I call them Layla's life lessons, you know, to go into the next opportunity with
You
that.
make my heart warm with all the one-liners.
I
just
know.
love it. When people are coming to the road shows and they know you, do they
Yeah.
know you as Layla Tourh, beauty boss?
They know me as Layla. Just Layla.
Layla.
Yeah.
That's strong enough, guys.
Yeah.
Come on.
Just Layla. Yeah. Yeah.
It's just remarkable, really. So it's just blowing up. Was it called Beauty Boss at the time?
No.
No.
No. I rebranded 3 times.
Okay.
So now we are Beauty Boss, but we evolved. And I just felt like those first 2 names were great at that time.
Yeah.
At that time. And then, you know, like so many other brands that we know today, they would have had 10 names that we wouldn't even know at this point.
This is like such an important topic, actually, because you've got to, in business, know when to pivot. When's the right time to pivot? It's not that the business isn't succeeding, but the times move around you. And obviously taking into consideration like your journey with business, so much has changed with technology and
AI,
everything.
You know, like what was working, even right now, what was working last year isn't working right now, today.
No. You've got to keep evolving.
So you've just got to keep plugging into the new.
And that's essentially what you have spent your career doing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
A quick shout out to the sponsor, Lips and Lines Aesthetics. If you're looking for expert, subtle, confidence boosting tweaks that leave you feeling fresh, empowered, and still completely you, they've got you. Run by a team who truly understand the art and science of aesthetics, Lips and Lines are all about enhancing natural beauty, not changing it. And honestly, we love that. Full disclosure, my face is today's sponsorship. Lucy recently dissolved my chin and I've never felt more confident. I was this close to booking surgery for my eyelids, but her artistry has literally saved me thousands of pounds. Massive thank you to Lips and Lines for sponsoring this episode. So, what would you say is your proudest boss move so far, looking at your journey?
That's a really hard question because I'm just going to say it out loud. There's more than one.
Can you give me a little snippet?
That's a really hard one.
Top three.
Okay. Biggest boss moves. Definitely turning away a multi-six-figure deal for the sale of one of my brands, my spray tan brand, Exposed, when I did not know what the other side of that looked like. Because by saying no to these major players in the industry, they pulled a card. And actually, if I'm really honest, I kind of knew it was going to come because I knew the type of people I was dealing with, but I was already in bed with them by this point. But yeah, one of my biggest boss moves is saying no, because again, had I have sold it to them, I wouldn't have gone on to do the things that I then went on to do. So that's one.
Yeah.
Another boss move, I bought a hotel.
I love this one.
And the hotel, not the hotel piece, isn't the flex, isn't the boss move. But going into the hotel, gutting the ground floor, which used to be where guests would check in and wait. There was like a waiting lounge. There was like where people would sit and have their English breakfasts. It was a B&B essentially. A reception, an office, for the staff. I got the keys and within days I had a work team in there. I obviously had my plan already when I got the keys. We gutted the ground floor and we put into apartments. So we turned it into what's called an apart hotel, which is still to this day a relatively new property model. It's huge in America, but like a lot of things, the UK takes a little minute to catch up. So I turned the hotel into an apart hotel, and then I automated every system and operations in there, turned it into a self-check-in. So it's a self-automated self-check-in apart hotel.
We've actually, and I only know this because I spent 6 days with you, we've missed a crucial point here actually.
Okay.
Because this ties in with Marbella, because you were living.
Yes.
Guys, we're going to jump back a minute because we've gone straight from beauty boss into property here. Yeah. But there is a crucial part which is important to talk about. So I'll let you lead this, but you obviously were living in Marbella, right? And I'll let you go from there.
Well, it was the end of COVID-19. So I had done all the lockdowns in Spain. And actually, I have got to be honest, it had already hit Spain a month before the UK. So it was like a ticking time bomb. I'd be watching the news from Spain, watching Boris Johnson, thinking, is this the time? Is this the announcement? Is this the moment he's going to lock down the UK? And it hadn't come. And it hadn't come. And here I am in Spain with my employed teams, my 2 offices and my warehouse operations here in the UK. And I'm like, I've got to be ready to hit that button like any moment. So by going through the lockdowns over there, I was literally watching all of my customers who are predominantly based in the UK. I have got some customers in Spain, Portugal, etc., but predominantly in the UK. And I was just watching everyone have a major meltdown. So from my lounge, I popped up this Facebook group. I already had my other Facebook groups. We were big on Facebook groups because we were so early in that whole strategy.
Yeah, great timing.
Yeah. But I just popped up a fresh group. And I just said, look, there's nothing we can do about this lockdown, guys, that you're having. Bearing in mind, I'm already a month in Spain. I'm like, but what we can do is we can take this time to learn to be better business women and to learn what skills you did not get taught at beauty school. So we can learn how to work on our business because we're not in our business. And then that birthed a whole new business for me as well, which was the Beauty Business Academy. Yeah.
I literally can't keep up with you.
So I did a 2-week free mentoring program called Lockdown with Layla. And I got people doing all sorts of stuff. Like looking at their numbers. Like you would be surprised how many business owners don't look at the numbers.
Were you doing that as a collective or were you doing it one-on-one, like this mentoring?
As a collective. It was a free pop-up group.
So you were all talking and sharing and...
No, sorry. So I would go in on a live every day from my lounge and I would have hundreds and hundreds of people watching me.
You are a smart chick.
And then they would come off when I'd stop the live. They'd come off and I'd say, I want you to do this, this and this. I'll be back tomorrow. Tell me how you got on with that. And they would go away and they would do the things. And they would come back and be like, oh my God, Layla, it worked. I'd be like, yeah, I know. So I'll give you some examples. I did this one thing called Grow Through the No. So it was a 5-day challenge within the 2-week program. And I would say, I want you to find a reason to say no to people. No to clients, no to staff, no to treatments that you're just not making money out of. We've now discovered that through the previous exercise. And they would literally be shitting themselves. They were like, but I can't say no to that lady. She's been paying me £15 for 15 years. And I'm like, yeah, but it's costing you £20. Like, you know?
Yeah.
Like, this is a business.
Realization.
This is not, this is profit before passion. This is not a hobby. This is what's paying your bills, putting food in your kids' mouths, etc., etc.
So easy to end up doing things and following your passion at your own detriment.
Absolutely.
I've definitely been there.
Yeah, absolutely. So this whole lockdown with Layla for 2 weeks of going through finding, sacking clients, sacking staff. I was literally saying, sack off everyone. Literally sack everything and anything you can, get your hands on. And they were doing it and they were messaging. The DMs were unbelievable. Layla, I've increased my prices and they're okay with it. Well, of course they're okay with it because they know they got away with it for so many years, But sometimes it takes a fresh pair of eyes and maybe just a business owner who's just a little bit further down the line, a bit more experienced.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that took off.
So that was the Spain days.
Yeah.
Mother-in-law got dementia. So Ben's mum was diagnosed with vascular dementia just after lockdown 3. And by this point, we're like, okay, we might need to move back to be there for family, for Ben's family. Me as a leader, I'm big on leadership. I have to be. I've got all these teams, I have to lead from the front when there is a problem. No one cares about what you leading when it's all good, because it's all good. And there was a problem. The shit hit the fan. We were trying to navigate as a business the other side of COVID.
It was a terrifying time.
I had 80 grand's worth of stock go off from my warehouse.
Go off?
Go
As
off.
in, like,
expired in the bin. Dead. Done.
Oh, Lord.
Yes. So from a business owner, there was challenges of like, I've got to go for my teams. I've got to go because I've got stock going off. Like all of these things. Family, obviously, my mother-in-law with vascular dementia. And it was time to come back. So that's what we did. We locked up our house. We essentially turned it into a holiday home for a couple of years, just under. And I came back and I looked after my teams and I rebuilt parts of my business that was totally effed because of COVID. And that was a journey in itself.
Yeah, unreal. And so much emotion as well. So much emotion. And it was like the real unknown.
Well, I didn't move
like
to Spain to move back. I invested in a 7-bedroom property there. I had an office there. I had a manager out there, sales manager. I supplied the two wholesalers out there. So I had a whole lifestyle out there. We were so happy out there. But it was the right thing to do to move back.
So you came back, got a taste for Airbnb.
Well, I'm going to call that the best accident, or mistake rather, the best mistake ever. Because that then stepped me into this whole property world that I had no interest in, no experience in. Yeah, big mistake. Best mistake.
Can you talk about that?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Just tell everyone about this, because I know this, and I think I just couldn't stop laughing at your big mistake that just ended up
with a hotel and a
catapulting you into the property world.
Yeah. So here I am back in the UK, still got my house in Spain, but I've moved back and I've got 3 young children, so they need to go back to school here. So I buy another property here in Bournemouth and I put my kids back into the school system here. And I've got my house over in Spain, so I'm kind of dabbling between the two. And when I say that, I'm really not, because I'm restricted by school terms. So I'm going back in half terms, I'm going back in summer holidays, but I'm back for school. Otherwise, you get fined.
How did the kids adjust? Because
from
Spain to the UK,
they're pretty good. The same way that they bounce from the UK to Spain. You know, they're just kids. They just do it. You know, it's an adventure. We totally packaged it up as an adventure, by the way. I sold them the dream. We'll buy a house with a pool, and I did. We got a pony, Appleby the pony. The girls got their pony. Yeah, like literally everything I told them that we would have, we had. We got a dog, Pablo, a rescue dog from Spain.
Oh yeah, you got him at the market.
Yeah, I got him from the market. Yeah. Yeah, so they loved it, and they also understood, you know, by that point, you know, we've done all the lockdowns. It's very isolating when you're in Spain. Yes, we had our friends, but it's not the same. We didn't have our family. So we wanted to come back. We needed to see family as well. So yes, I mentioned about coming back to lead the teams and be back for business. And, you know, we had the news of the dementia, which was horrendous. But, you know, here I am, this family girl, one of 11, you know, they're all together and I'm over here.
Yeah.
Not happening. Time to come back, you know. And the kids must have, you know, felt that as well. So we came back. So here I am with my house here in Bournemouth, my house there in Spain. And the house that I bought in Bournemouth came with a 2-bedroom annex attached to it. Huge. Like, I remember my friend coming to see it and being like, bloody hell, Layla, this kitchen is bigger than my house's kitchen. Yeah. You know, the annex one. And then she says, why don't you stick it on Airbnb? And Airbnb is obviously having a blow up moment because the other side of COVID is people were still too scared to travel, maybe didn't have the money to travel in the way that they used to. So staycation became a thing. It was the big staycation.
The staycation boom.
That's it, the staycation boom, you know. And so I'm like, I don't know if I can be asked, to be honest, to put this on Airbnb and, you know.
Because the motivation was for the kids, right?
Yeah.
So then they
yeah,
keep those kids as close as
possible.
possible.
Keep them babies at home, yes. When those girls think that they're leaving the nest, I was ready to offer them next door. That was it. Keep them on my land, keep them at home, you know. That was my strategy.
I love that about you, honestly.
So I buy the house, it's got the annex, and I'm like, do you know what? Yeah, I'll pay someone just to whack it on Airbnb. And I did that. Are we good to talk numbers on the podcast?
Yeah,
I feel like we can talk anything. Oh, yeah, I don't care. So I was netting 4K a month from day one, from month one.
On the annex.
On the annex. £4,000 profit for doing nothing.
Oh,
like,
my
what?
God.
Okay. So I went and invested and bought another property. A small studio flat, nothing big and heavy. Put it on Airbnb. Again, another staycation business that's just filling very nicely. And I'm like, okay. So I've got my couple of Airbnbs. I'm going to call it a side hustle. I'm not actually even going to call it that because I didn't really do much, to be honest with you. I have to be honest here. Unlike my other businesses that I was, you know, laborious and, you know, this was just a side thing. This was just like, I'm going to call it pink pennies. It was just pink pennies that I would spend on the kids. So, but I'm obviously clocking how profitable it is. And it's not slowing down. No. It's slowed down now, but back then it hadn't slowed down. So up comes the 6-week summer holidays and I'm ready to go back to Spain for 6 weeks with the kids. And I'm very conscious that what I've actually got in my house, so not my annex, my house, which is a 5-bedroom house over 3 floors. I'm very aware that anything of any real value is in my other house in Spain, like my wedding albums, like my kids' first baby teeth and hair, and all the memory boxes, all those sort of things. They're all in my house in Spain. There's nothing of any real value in my house in Bournemouth. And I hadn't done too much to the place. I'd always planned to put a new kitchen in, but I never got around to doing it, all of that kind of stuff. So I just said to my husband one night, when I'm in Spain for 6 weeks in the summer holidays, so August, I'm going to put the house on Airbnb. And he was like, what? I was like, hear me out. Really? What is there here that is of any real value? If anything gets damaged, we get covered through the deposit scheme there on Airbnb cover, etc., etc. But the way Airbnb works, and obviously I've got my other Airbnbs now, so I understand the model. Okay, I know there's a lot of damages and there's some horrific stories out there, but really people are so careful when they go into an Airbnb because they don't want to ruin their own Airbnb account.
Yeah, it's clever.
It's very clever.
And also you can pre-qualify people still.
Exactly.
If you do it properly.
All of that. We pre-qualify. So we do all of that. So I was like, this is a no-brainer. The house is going to be sat here empty anyway. It's got nothing of any real value. I've not put my new kitchen in. I'm just going to whack it on Airbnb. So I did. For 6 weeks. And I netted 19k.
Mental.
And that was when I was like, I'm really sat up watching this industry now. Like, I want more. I want to learn more. I want to know more about the holiday rental market. We're in Bournemouth. Okay, yeah. It might not be amazing all year round.
We have a lot to offer.
We have a lot with those beaches. We have so much.
I don't know anywhere else really quite like it.
Yeah. So that was how I started by accident into the holiday rental market. And then a little bit further down the line, we decided to sell up our house in Spain.
Spain, yeah.
It was just sat there, not getting its use. And if I can just be really honest here, we had a pool that when we would go there, it would look mucky because the palm trees over the pool would, the stuff, whatever it is that falls from them palm trees, falls in. So it would just look disgusting.
Vacant houses require maintenance
we
had
a full-time maintenance guy called Gustavo, full-time gardener. But Gustavo is getting paid for what? We're not going back. So Gustavo's cushy because he's getting full-time wage. He's doing his thing. We had 3 Wi-Fis because, again, the houses in Spain and the way they're built, there's no carpets. It's all marble flooring. So the Wi-Fi would not go from the ground floor to the top floor. So we would have 3 Wi-Fi bills, essentially.
Oh, my God.
So I'm looking at this business. Racking. Yeah, so I'm just looking at this house and I'm like, okay, it's costing us money now. It's a liability. So it was hard because, like I say, we just never planned to move back. But we did. And we are back in the system of the UK, school, work, etc. So we decided to sell up. We think it's the smartest move to sell up. So we sold and we put the money and left the money for another year or so in our Spanish Sabadell bank account. And it just sat there, making very little interest. Whereas here in the UK, obviously, my Airbnbs are popping.
So good.
Yeah. Shall I continue this story?
Yeah, definitely. I think so. I'm just being quiet and absorbing.
Yeah. Okay, but I'm a learner. I'm not naive. I know when I'm the biggest expert in the room, and I also know when I'm not. And I have such a growth mindset that I want to be in rooms where I am the nobody. I know nothing. I am the student. I am the piece of shit in the corner that knows nothing, but is here to study and learn from people bigger and better than me.
It's mentally stimulating, isn't it?
Yeah.
When you're in those environments, I think it's really important to get in environments that almost scare you. That scare's not the right word, but make you feel vulnerable and therefore results in empowerment.
Yeah. So I needed, if I wanted to go more into the property game, so to speak, I needed to get in those rooms and I needed to meet people that were doing it bigger and better than me, further than me, longer than me, all of that stuff. So this free, I didn't pay for it. It was a free 2 days, I think it was. Was it 1 day or 2 days? Training in Newcastle. I'd never been to Newcastle before. So I just said to my husband, I want to go to Newcastle and do this free training. Should we make a weekend of it? Like, you know, we're a married couple, we've got kids. It's nice to get away every now and then. Never been to Newcastle, looks lively, like the accent.
Come on, Ben, off we go.
Come on, Ben, little road trip. So we love a road trip. So off we go. And we go and do this training. Because Ben's in the training as well with me, by the way. Important to know that anything I've ever done, he's never really taken very supportive, yes. Taken an interest, no. I mean, it's beauty, it's distribution, it's training. But no. The property space, let's be honest, majority is male dominated. So I think he felt more safer being involved what is typically known as a male-driven industry.
Definitely. Also, it's something you can do together.
Well, this is it. And this is exactly what we did do. This was a together thing. This wasn't a Layla thing. This was a Layla and Ben thing.
Oh, I love that.
So we go to Newcastle and we do the training. And it was good. I mean, it was basic, but it was good. I mean, what do you expect? It was for free. And then on one of the nights out, we go to a pub and we meet up with a couple of the people that are also on the course. And this was a massive light bulb moment for me. So we're outside, it was bloody freezing, and we're outside having a drink, and one of the guys that's on the same course as us is telling us that he has just watched someone else's seminar who is in America. And
I thought you were going to say Samuel Leeds then.
No. Who's in America? Who's in America, and they have basically bought a B&B, bed and breakfast, and they have put apartments in the B&B. Light bulb moment for me.
Apart hotel.
Yeah. The hybrid of apartments and a hotel, bringing them together. That's the apart hotel model.
Yeah.
In America. So this guy that I'm on this free course over a drink one night is telling me he has just watched a webinar or a seminar, of someone who is telling them that he has done this thing in America, and it's an apart hotel. And that conversation never left me. Yeah. That was a light bulb moment for me. Like, hang on, I've got so much money in the bank. I know this business model in terms of holiday rentals is working in Bournemouth in the UK right now. I could take that money at the bank, buy a hotel, and do what that guy just told me he heard and watched someone do in America.
Yeah.
That was enough for me, and I took action, and that's when I then bought my hotel.
Amazing.
And then I turned it into an apart hotel, which at that point I was the third apart hotel in Bournemouth.
I was going to say, because
there's none.
Hugely common.
I think there's less than 10.
I remember when we were in Marbella, actually, and I was on the phone to a client talking, an investor. So I'm not that heavily involved in that side of things anymore. But obviously I've got clients like you that just want to speak to me. So I remember I was wandering around the villa and chatting to my client, and then you stopped me after the call and were like, because I was giving her advice on short-term rentals and my perception on the market, Bournemouth versus Poole, and you were like, you've just given her advice on exactly what I'm doing.
Yeah, you literally gave her the blueprint of one of my businesses. Like, it was amazing for me to witness. You were just pacing up and down, telling this lady, you should try this and you should try that. And I was like, she's talking about
unintentionally. I had no bloody idea, did I, about the apart hotel? But isn't it incredible?
Yeah.
And then these things just spark. But it's incredible what you set up. How is it going? Is it going well?
So good.
Has it been a year?
It'll be my second summer. So what happened was I actually completed in the October, in the winter months, which we know there's no business in terms of holiday rentals in Bournemouth, especially where my hotel's located. We're right on the beach. Well, we're a couple of roads away from the beach. So our demographic, our targeted audience are beachgoers and the holiday makers.
Yeah.
So the fact that we got the keys in the winter, we rented all the rooms. And also, just to say, because we bought the hotel with the beds, the bedding, the towels, the wardrobes, the TVs,
Helpful.
The kettles in every room, it was a lock and key. It was literally a turnkey business.
Turnkey purchase.
Literally.
Decent.
It wasn't to start with, but then I interjected that towards the end. I went, actually, yeah.
So that is going really well.
Yeah.
And I know you're eyeing up another one.
Yeah.
And we won't talk about that because that's a secret until you explode.
Yeah.
On the whole success and like money side of things, I know that you're an incredibly family oriented, wonderful woman. But I also know how driven you are and how you know how to make money. You know how to make these things like happen.
I do love a pound note.
You've got to be honest about it. That's how we survive. That's how we create freedom. Well,
let's just talk about money for a minute, because it's those people that don't have a good relationship with it, don't know how to make it. So you've got to see it as a vehicle for good things and for expansion and for all the things you want in life. It doesn't just land on your lap. You have to go out there and get it.
And that is what you do. You train people to change their mindset and ultimately make money, which buys that freedom.
So I mentor and coach women, predominantly in business, at a particular level. I try to stay away from the beginners, if I'm being very honest here, because there's so many other amazing mentors and coaches that can do that for them. But there's not a lot that can take them to my level. So I like to be kept hungry too, like keep me excited as well. The startups is not so exciting for me.
Now, on this part of your journey.
Yes. Whereas the mid-level that are ready to go next level, that excites me because I know where I can help them do that. So there's a lot of people that have a lot of money blockages that need to be dealt with first.
What do you mean by money blockages?
Like mindset blocks, money blocks, bottlenecks in their own mind when it comes to money. And 9 times out of 10, it's down to the way it was spoken about at home.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Is that something you sound out when you first start working with someone, like what their mindset is like, so you know how to?
Yeah, well, one of the first things I do if I was to get on a call with someone who seems like a prospect is I ask them what their financial goal is. And you'd be surprised how many people don't have a goal. They don't know to answer that. They don't know how to answer that. So I know what type of person I'm working with just from asking that question. Then there could be the next person. Like, in fact, one of the ladies that I've just signed up to my mastermind, she straight out, she said, I want to make £1 million next year. I was like, let's go. I help you.
Look at your face like that.
I help you.
I love it.
Because she knows she's come to the right person.
I want to make 10 million. You're like,
come back next episode.
I know, because we're going to get told off. We could literally talk all day long. Susie are going to be kicking us out in a minute. Just so much good value here for people. Yeah.
But so money is a problem for a lot of people. So we need to get that blockade. We need to get that elephant out the room. Like if you can't talk healthy about money, we're going to have a problem. Because I'm here to help you make money. So, yeah.
No. I have also heard you on the phone to people, and there's no doubt in my mind, certainly anyone in the beauty game that wants to even attempt to get to your level, which I would say is right up there. It's very impressive. You would be the best coach without a shadow.
Well, it was about 2 years, maybe 3 years ago, that I started getting asked from people not in the beauty industry. Hi, Layla, I see you do mentoring and coaching. At that point, it was more mentoring. I actually went off and did a qualification in coaching because they're very different. A lot of people don't know that. And so people were literally coming to me saying, can you help me with my business? Well, what is your business? It's a coffee shop. It's a dog groomers. All different businesses. And so at that time, I said no because I had nowhere to take them.
Yeah.
But now we have the Pretty Smart Academy, which I won't go into much about right now, but there is a pathway for them now. And I had to feel aligned to that. Back then I wasn't aligned. I was still very much serving one type of person. But then you get to a place where you're like, it doesn't matter what the business is. Everyone needs education and guidance on numbers, marketing, mindset. The foundations of business are the same regardless of the business. Yeah.
Please, can you share, I'm just saying this now, so it's in your mind. Please, can you just share all of the ways that people can connect with you? Because you have got quite a few businesses that could be really beneficial to anyone listening to this and finding you as equally inspiring as I do as your friend.
So if you want high level coaching, you just come directly to me, which is just Layla Tourh on Instagram.
On your personal DM.
That is where I hang out the most, is Instagram. There's too many platforms. There's too many. And I'm in a place where I don't need to be on all of them. So I've chosen Instagram to be my playground.
Yeah. From Facebook to Insta.
Yeah, we still have Facebook, but the team runs Facebook. And the Beauty Boss brand, the team runs on Instagram. But if you want to reach out to me and talk like coaching, mentoring, masterminds, business retreats, that type of stuff, you come directly to me. If you're in the beauty space, then Beauty Boss is a great platform. We have the Beauty Boss Academy. We have the Beauty Business Academy. We have so much going on over there.
You would work out, if someone connects with you after listening to this very inspiring chat, you'll be able to work out straight away what's right for.
Oh, definitely. And I would never send someone down the wrong business path. What's the point?
No.
Why? Like, no one's getting anything out of that.
And equally, you would put someone in someone else's hands if you
Exactly.
feel they would fit better.
Exactly. Oh, there's been so many times where I've turned down people that have come to me for me to mentor them. And I've said, I'm not the person for you, but I know who is.
Yeah.
And then I will send them to what some may call a competitor. But no. Collaboration.
We actually had this discussion just as we're on the tail end. Do you remember you said to me, who's your competition? While we were having dinner, and I said, I don't have competition. And you laughed and you went, you're so full of ego. I've been there. You're so full of ego. And I said, it's not ego. It's factual.
No.
I've always stayed in my lane. That is slightly different to what the statement you were just making, which I agree.
Yeah.
They're not
'Cause there's always
competitors. There's a way of collaborating in
Yeah.
a really healthy way.
Yeah.
But it just sparked that thought. And I was like, it's just so funny.
Because there's always someone bigger and better than you. And there has to be. It's called a market sweep. You have to do your market segmentation. It's not my opinion. It's business. It's the framework.
That was an interesting conversation.
There is. So I think my advice, seeing as you've gone and shared that, I think my advice to you is go and find them. Like, go and find someone. Go and find them. They're out there.
Yeah.
But going back to my handles, for people that are not in the beauty and aesthetic space, but still need that help in business, we had the Pretty Smart Academy, which I haven't done a lot with, to be perfectly honest with you. And that's because obviously I was busy building and setting up the hotel.
Yeah.
But we've got a huge thing happening at the Pretty Smart Academy this September. So yeah, there's that as well.
I will need some more info, my love.
Yeah.
And also I hear you've got a Mykonos trip up your sleeve.
Yeah, so we have the business retreat, which is called the Reset Retreat in Marbella next week.
Aren't you flying tomorrow?
I'm flying tomorrow, but for a different reason.
Yeah, we'll keep that off. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll keep that off the mic.
In case Ben's in the other room listening. Your lovely husband.
Yeah, he's the best. So there's that. And then next May is Mykonos. Yeah. There's a lot.
Count me in for that.
Yeah, you need to come. You need to come.
I've never been to Mykonos.
There's something to be said about removing yourself out of the daily runnings of your business.
100%.
To have that, well, you felt that in just 6 days.
Creative space.
Creative
the
space.
value of creative space, no one understands until they experience it.
Yeah.
And they also, like, have those mental money blocks, like, oh no, that's going to cost me X, Y, Z to do that. And actually that's a pressure. No, go get some creative space. Go make some money. Go make some more money, because
Yeah.
I'm telling you, as soon as you're in creative space, like,
The ROI it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
It's there. It's there for the taking. And it's not just about the creative space. It's actually about what I just said before when I went to Newcastle. You put yourself in rooms of people that are doing the thing that you want to do next. So you leverage. It's
Leverage Layla.
Leverage Layla. it's the ultimate leverage.
Yeah.
You know? So yeah, retreats, they're a big model at the moment. And so I needed to get involved with that and pull business women out of their business so they can see a different pathway. They can.
it's important.
Yeah.
I've learned that this year firsthand.
Yeah.
Just to wrap up, I have a question for you. So if you had to leave any of my listeners with one message about owning their space and stepping into leadership, what would it be?
What's the worst thing that could happen? Like, honestly, the worst thing is you die.
I mean,
But you're not going to die, are you? By doing the thing, by taking the job, by setting up the business, by getting on a stage, by coming on a podcast. You're not going to die. So once you've removed that, you give yourself permission to just do it.
It's very valuable.
And also, we've got to stop caring so much about what people think. They're just people. And this is actually the sort of stuff I say to my kids all the time. I'm always engineering. I'm like an engineer in my house. I'm always engineering what I'm putting into my kids' little ears. I'm reverse engineering a lot of the things, actually. But I'm like, they're just people. That's just a person. You can do that. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I love it. And I've actually witnessed, obviously only with Coco.
Yeah.
In a small dose of you running your ships and being mum, and you switch in and out of that so well and just so naturally, and that definitely touched me so much, because I have spent my life just believing that I will never be a mum and I won't have a family because my mum chose to be a wife and a mother, and then gave up on her career, and then went through a lot of struggle. And this podcast isn't about me. This is actually a point about you. And spending time with you really resonated with me, because I saw it being done. And you've had struggle, and you're an incredible mom. You manage, despite the challenges, to be a great wife and run multiple businesses. I think we had a cry, didn't we?
We did.
Because I obviously told you a bit about my history, and I was like, you've shown me, because I love family, but I accepted, like, I was willing to not ever have a family because I was so hungry to succeed. And I only thought, like, I genuinely believe, like, work is the only thing that would give me fulfillment. And I think spending time with you made me realise that you can have it all.
Yeah.
It's not easy, but...
I remember that conversation well, because we did end up in tears. And I couldn't believe what I was hearing. And I had to make that instant judgment call and be like, okay, I've only met this lady once before, and now we're living together for 6 days. Like, do I tell her what I really think? And I thought, fuck it, yeah. Because again, what's the worst that's going to happen? I'm not going to die.
Yeah.
So I go all in, and I think I said to you, like, what? Like, what are you talking about? Like, of course you can have it all. Of course you can be a great mum. Of course you can still do what you're doing in business. And I think there's too much, I don't know if the word's pressure, especially now social media, that you have to succeed. It's like there's too much emphasis on work. And I come from a place that work has done me very well, you know, in life. But there's a much bigger picture out there, and it's health, and it's family, and, you know, it's life. So
the most important things.
Yeah.
Completely. And I saw a snippet of you having it all, and I was like, it just made me really emotional. And on that note, I'm so grateful. I feel like this conversation has been so valuable. I could talk to you for another 10 hours. Get ready, Zizzy. We're coming back for part 2.
Yeah. To be fair, we probably will after this mic is gone.
100%. We do need a proper catch up. No, seriously, thank you, Layla.
No, thank you for inviting me on the
No, I'm so grateful. Thank you. Should we have a hug?
Yes.
Love you.
Put my coffee down.
Isn't it funny, from strangers to friends? You're my little pocket rocket. Thank you, love. So wrap.
That was great, Layla. You're so good at it. You're so good at just pulling the best out of people. I say the best, just like the rawness.
Aww,
yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Hope you're still recording.